Happy Wednesday evening. I'm your host, Shameika Rhymes, and welcome to Soulibration. If you're new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. And if you're not new, you're one of my old faithfuls, hello to you. And I call you my co-host, all of you. So thank you for joining and drop in the chat. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know how your week is going. And as you have seen by the thumbnail, we are going to be talking about waist trainers tonight. So I also am being nosy and want to know how many of you in the chat have worn a waist trainer or you're thinking about getting one. I've never worn one, so I'm being transparent here. So waist trainers promise a snatched waist and an hourglass figure, but are they actually safe? So tonight we're going to dig deep into the truth about waist trainers. We're going to break down the myths surrounding them, their potential dangers, and talk about whether there's some healthier alternatives for core strength and body confidence. So if you've ever been thinking like, should I try a waist trainer? I mean, they're doing it on TikTok or whatever social media thing, or, my friend's selling them. Should I buy one? You might want to watch this first and make sure you share this with your network because you never know who might need it. So I'm so excited about tonight's returning guest because she's been here before. She was here back in September. Dr. Lisa N. Folden. She's a North Carolina-based licensed physical therapist. She is an NASM certified behavior change specialist, an anti-diet health and body image coach. She owns Healthy Fit Physical Therapy and Wellness Consultants here in Charlotte, North Carolina. So let's welcome Dr. Lisa Folden.
Hi,
how are you?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me again. I'm very excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, I know last time you were preaching, you had folks rethinking their whole lives. So
I love it.
Yes. And I even shared a few of those clips and they were loving the advice. You kind of reframed how we all thought about body image. So I want to make sure we kind of approach that again. And I see Gastonia checking in. Asheville, welcome.
Hey.
All right. So we got to start this off with the basic question for those that don't know, what is a waist trainer and what is it used for?
Awesome. Perfect question to get us started. So a waist trainer is essentially a corset that people wear specifically for working out. It's very different than like compression leggings or like shapewear you might put under like a dress. It's thicker. It's usually a more stretchy or rubbery material. The goal of a waist trainer, the perceived goal, is to cause your waistline to shrink, increase sweat production during workouts. And I've seen people wear them all day, not just during workouts. It's a whole nother thing. But the goal or the thought behind it is by producing more sweat on my waistline and compressing my waist, I will have a smaller waist and more of an hourglass shape. So they are marketed. I mean, they're all over the internet. I know tons of people with them. And I say this without judgment. I didn't actually own one, but I tried one before and I was interested in them because, we all want a snatched waist this day and age. So that is what they are supposed to do. But I'm sure we'll talk about what they actually do. So
Yeah. Because I was just thinking the only time I've ever, and I don't know if it's similar to and I cannot think of the name of it. After I had my fibroid surgery, they make you wear this thing around your waist, and it was the most uncomfortable thing. And but in my head, I was like, well, it might snatch it a little bit. It did compress it. There was more of a compression thing instead of a snatch. But
so, and those are different. I'm glad you bring that up because that what you get after a surgery or like a cesarean, a C-section, or even just a vaginal delivery, sometimes you will get sort of a pelvic support, some sort of corset, but it's a different material. It is not to be worn 24/7. It's also not to be worn for exercise. It's literally just to help hold you together as you heal, and it's a very short-term use situation. So we're not talking about those supports for, abdominal or pelvic floor surgeries and things like that. We're talking about the ones people are wearing in the gym or running errands in their workout clothes. So very different.
Oh, thank you, Beverly, in the chat. I see, and that's what it was, an abdominal binder. I could not remember that. I was
Yes.
like,
Yes.
it's been 12 years. I couldn't remember the name of it. But we already
Absolutely.
have a question. If
Mhm.
Lynette McCallum, shout out to Charlotte, North Carolina, because she just posted
Hey.
that. She's asking, does this include wearing a sweat waistband during exercising? And is that kind of similar since if it's just a band?
Yeah, it's kind of similar. Now, the difference is if there's not a high compressive force, then some of the things I'm going to tell you about waist trainers won't necessarily apply. But I will say, since you brought that up, one thing that waist trainers and this sort of sweatband, the idea is that it's going to increase sweat production. And people believe that if you increase sweat production, then you're going to increase calorie burn and increase fat loss. And that is a myth. That's really not true. We actually don't lose weight through our sweat very much. Most of the weight we use is expelled via breathing. So it's like a gas. So sweating more is literally just dehydrating your body. That's it. That's all. We're just losing water weight, and then we just need to refill on it because we'll be dehydrated otherwise. So even with the sweatbands or the corsets or waist trainers, they're not actually decreasing your calories or your fat because of that sweat that's being produced.
Ah, okay. So
Yeah.
let's talk about some of the other misconceptions because that was my next question. Because we've
Yeah.
seen some celebrities endorsing waist
Mm-hmm.
trainers, and you see it all on social media where people have like for example, the TikTok shops. Those can draw you
Mm-hmm.
in. They really
They
can.
do.
but
Yeah.
but what are some of those misconceptions about waist trainers' effectiveness?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that, well, first of all, when celebrities are endorsing things, I just always give a little bit of a side eye because the reality is,
Yeah.
if someone isn't like a health and fitness and wellness professional with some education, some understanding of research, they're not going to be giving you sound advice about your
Mhm.
body or your health or your fitness. So, just that caveat. But one of the things that people believe, with waist trainers is that you'll see people in the gym on social media. They'll take a video and they'll take off their waist trainer and show you what it looks like at the end of a workout. And you can see like, their waist does look pulled in. I need people to understand that is a temporary effect from the compression of what you've been doing. That is it. That goes right back to normal within hours. So it's a very temporary effect. And even if it were to last a little longer, I've seen it last longer for people who wear them consistently. Like I said, I know people who will wear these things all day long. What you're doing to maintain that position is really kind of pushing your organs into different areas of your body. And I don't think, I don't know all the research behind this, I won't pretend, but just as someone who understands anatomy, I don't think it's ever a good idea to put your stomach in a different position than it should be, or your kidney or your liver in a different
Yeah.
position. I believe that our organs are spaced the way they are for a purpose. And so
Mhm.
moving them can definitely impact their function. So that's one of the big things. We're really not thinking about what we're doing, what we're sacrificing by trying to make our waistlines, look pulled in. So squishing the organs is a big deal. The other big thing, especially when we're doing this, during exercise and throughout the day, is that compressive force around our abdominal area increases the difficulty of our breathing. It's decreasing our lung capacity. So your diaphragm, right above your stomach area, your abdomen, it can't fully contract. So
Mhm.
taking deep breaths is almost impossible. And what do you need more than anything when you're working out? Oxygen. Like you
Yeah.
need oxygen. Your muscles need oxygen to work, and you need to be able to take full deep breaths. And that is problematic, when you can't do that. The other thing, and this is a big one in my line of work, when you put, and I'll use this example, like if you wear a knee brace, say your knee's bothering you, you wear a
Mhm.
brace. Temporarily wearing a brace, while you're
Yeah.
having sort of an acute flare up of pain, or you have to do something that's really physical for a couple hours, totally fine. But wearing
Mhm.
a brace every day to train your knee, all it's actually doing is providing you external support and inhibiting the muscle activity. So
Mhm.
long term, just like when someone comes out of a cast, right? Long
Yeah.
term, all the muscles around that area are atrophied or smaller. The exact same thing happens with using the corset or the waist trainer, you think that, oh, I'm doing ab works. Well, no, you're not. You're compressing your abdominal muscles, so they're not actually contracting and doing any work. So what happens is people, even though they think that their waistline's getting smaller, their core is actually getting weaker. And then what happens with that? Then we have herniated discs in our spine. We have, bending down to reach for something and throwing your back out. So it really makes you weaker, and which is crazy because, you think people are wearing these in the gym. The goal is to get stronger, but that's not what's happening. They're decreasing their ability for their muscles to actually contract. And then one of the really big one for women, because we are the primary consumers for these, that pressure. Think about if you take a plastic bottle and you squeeze the middle of it. Where does that pressure go? It goes up and down. And so when you put that pressure around your waist, you push down into your pelvic floor. If you have had a baby or any abdominal surgery or any issues with your pelvic floor, if you've ever had, like that leaking when you cough or laugh or jump, you are ruining your pelvic floor. And your pelvic floor is the base to your core. And if that's weak, if you have pressure pushing down in there, you're worried about later on developing incontinence where you cannot hold your bladder, and just having other things. There's pelvic floor prolapse, which is like where the muscles are almost hemorrhaging toward your vagina. It's ugly, and you don't want to induce that. So that's a really, really big one. The pelvic floor pressure. So, those are the big ones. And then of course the whole idea around sweat increasing fat loss, that's not actually happening. So, but those I think are the biggest misconceptions or the biggest things people they aren't aware of when they purchase these items.
Wow. I felt my back clench up when you were saying that. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Herniated discs are no joke.
I forgot to tell everybody in the chat to make sure you drop your comments in there, any questions as we go along, and I'll be checking to see if you guys have questions. So I wanted to go back to how it affects like your spine and those things, especially if you're in the gym, you're lifting weights, or if you decide to wear it to, I'm like, the only place I go is yoga. So I'm like, whatever other exercises y'all do.
Right.
How does that? I mean, you talked a little bit about it moving the spine. You could have a herniated disc, but what are some other things that could happen, especially to your spine, especially if you're lifting weights or doing stuff like that?
Yeah. So the core's primary goal, and when I say core, I'm talking like below the shoulders, above the hips. Those muscles that support your back, your abdominal area, the whole goal of those muscles is to stabilize your spine. That's the whole goal, to make sure that, when you bend down or when you turn or when you reach, that your vertebrae do not come out of alignment. The discs that sit between each of your vertebrae do not slip. You don't get pressure on the nerves that run next to it. Your spinal cord runs down the center of it. Your spine is very fragile and very important. So your core muscles are there to support that. And when you're wearing a waist trainer, corset, you are literally inhibiting the muscles. I mean, if you squeeze right now around your wrist, the muscles are not going to work efficiently. So it's the pressure on the muscles. Like I said, when we talked earlier, those abdominal binders post-surgery, the point is to inhibit the muscles for a season or for a short period of time while you heal. That is not what you want to have on when you're trying to actively work these muscles. So if you're in the gym and you're working out, you're lifting weights, you're doing core stuff, all you're doing is making the muscles around your core weaker. And when you go to take that waist trainer off, you may not feel the effects in the gym because you have that external support. It's like if you were, had a physically active job and they gave you a back brace. You'll probably get through your day fine because that brace is giving you a lot of support. But when you go home at night and take that off, that back brace or that waist trainer, those muscles are like, whew, they are like weaker as a result of not being used. So you did a whole workout where you could have been engaging your core, working on the transverse abdominals muscles. You could have been doing all kinds of things to support your spine and get stronger. And now basically those muscles had a break for that hour, 2 hours, or half a day if you're wearing it all day. So they're actually getting weaker. So when you actually go to do something in real life, now you run the risk of herniating a disc, overstretching a muscle, pulling something, and that can, be pretty traumatic. If anyone's ever had back issues, it's no laughing matter. It's not funny. And it's very difficult to recover from. So we want our core to be stronger. So we don't want to engage with waist trainers because it does the exact opposite.
Wow. Do y'all hear that in the chat?
It's the hard truth.
It's making me think about like, I have Gone with the Wind in my head, probably because I saw it on one of these streaming platforms, and I used to love that movie. But you look at back then how they wore corsets and things all the time, and
Mm-hmm.
I just and I
And they were
wonder.
weak and frail.
Yeah, well, there you go. Because I'm like, how did they get?
Yeah.
Well, yep, they were weak and frail and had people doing their work, but that's a whole nother story.
Absolutely.
Whole
But
nother
I'm
story.
I'm glad you bring that up because it speaks to sort of what we talked about before with the body image conversation, this idea around womanhood and
Yeah.
femininity and women being more considered more valuable when they are frail and small and dainty and petite and can't do things for themselves.
Mhm.
So yeah, we're gonna tie you up in a corset so that your boobs are up here and your waist looks non-existent, and we have a
Yeah.
pretend hourglass, and now you are to be gazed upon, right? That your beauty, that's
Right.
your worth and value. But
Mhm.
then you take it off and you're not very functional, as a human, as someone
Yeah.
who has to take care of themselves. So there's a whole I highly recommend the book Fearing the Black Body by Sabrina Strings. It talks about sort of the history of women's bodies, especially Black women's bodies, and this idea about fitting to this beauty standard that was never sustainable or healthy
Mhm.
for us at all. So, but yeah,
Okay.
corsets go right in line with that. 100%.
Yeah. So, what are some potential long-term effects, say, with your digestion and gut health? Because you're
Yeah.
squeezing those intestines too.
Yes, all kinds of stuff. I mean, I know that people don't, if you're not into anatomy, you may not know this, but your small and large intestines are pretty long. Like if you were
Mhm.
to take them out of your body, they stretch pretty far down the street.
Yeah.
So they're wrapped up in there. And having good gut motility, which basically means the cells inside of your intestines that push the food along and get you to the bathroom so that you're not all backed up. And I think everyone does know this. If you're constipated, you're not voiding, you're not having bowel movements consistently, that's a sign of, health issues that need to be addressed. So when you are squeezing
Yeah.
your core, your body, your abdomen, you are impairing the gut's ability to do its job. Again, it's that same thing, compression, pressure. It's
Mhm.
like, it's like holding your breath. It's like, let me just pull in as hard as I can and see if I can still breathe. Like, why would we want to do that to ourselves? So yeah, your gut is definitely one of the organs that can be negatively impacted by all of the compression from a waist trainer. So that's something to really consider. I mean, there's no upside to them. I mean, honestly, there's really there's just not. And I've tried. I've researched this. I've talked about this countless times, and there's literally nothing good about them. There's no good that comes from wearing them. So people ask me all the time, like, do you think I should try? And I'm like, I can't co-sign that. I believe in body autonomy, so I believe you do whatever you think is best for you. But my professional opinion, there's nothing good that comes from wearing a waist trainer.
Okay. What if you wear it for like a week? Just to work out or just to put on under your cute dress because you're going somewhere like a date. What about those instances? No.
I mean, shapewear is different. I do think
Yeah.
shapewear can have its issues too, especially if we're sizing down. But
Yeah.
under your dress shapewear, I don't think there's any long-term effects from that. But the waist trainers for a week, then that's a week of deconditioning to your core. That's what I would say. It's like a
Okay.
week of being on bed rest with your core. So think about
Okay.
that when you get ready to go do something the week after.
Well, I want to talk about shapewear for a second.
Hmm.
Because like you said, when you size down, people may think that that is helping, making them look more snatched or whatever. Can you talk a little bit about that, like the dangers around doing that?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same thing when and again, I don't, every time I talk about this, I don't want people to feel judged because I understand we live in a
Mhm.
society that wants us to alter our bodies as much as possible and fit whatever is trending right now for beauty, right? So I get it.
Yeah.
There's no shame. We've all been there and done it. But with shapewear, the difference is the material is a lot thinner. So the long-term effects are less for sure, but when we're sizing down and we're putting on materials that we can't breathe in, it's just that we are like lessening the depths of our breathing. And
Mhm.
so even if it's no long-term effect, because a lot of times it's not if you're just doing that for a night or two out, why would you want to be that uncomfortable? why why is and I think it's a culture thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why is our discomfort worth our perceived beauty or perceived desirability? Like, I just ask yourself, why is it worth me? And I'm 43 now, so things that I might have done in like my 20s or 30s to like look good, I just have no interest in. I'm like, take me or leave me, honey, because it's whatever. But why do we force ourselves to be uncomfortable? Do we force ourselves to fit into things that don't fit us? Do we make ourselves like put ourselves in pain in order to be perceived a certain way, to look a certain way, to have a snatched waist?
Mm-hmm.
Pretending doesn't mean that that's what it actually is, right? Because when you go home and take it off, it is what it is down there.
Mm-hmm.
So why are we so caught up on this moment in time or looking a certain way? And how does that speak to our true values, like what we actually value, what's important to us, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And again, no judgment. I just ask yourself why. Like, why is it so important? Why do I make myself uncomfortable to fit some narrative or some standard?
Mm-hmm.
What am I gaining from it? But I would say that's my biggest thing. I think there's a mental component to it and an emotional component to like, why am I
Yeah.
putting myself through this? It's like walking around in 6-inch heels. For what reason? I mean, if being up there doesn't hurt your feet, fine. But usually
You're one of the chosen ones.
you're one of the chosen ones. You are a ballerina. Most of us, like, why are we doing that? Because someone
Yeah.
told us we should, because someone told us when we were young that beauty is pain.
Mm-hmm.
Like what is it? Like, what is it around that conversation? So I just tell people to question all the things that you do and get curious so that you can make some decisions moving forward, especially as you get older. I think as women, as we get older, we start to really gain our confidence and look at some of the things like, that's not necessary for me anymore. And there's no shame in
Mm-hmm.
that being your thing. But yeah, I don't have anything against shapewear. I just don't think that sizing down and forcing yourself to be uncomfortable is a way to be kind to yourself.
Okay. Because I find just reading on social media, and I do think social media and just entertainment as a whole may be
Hmm.
part of the problem as
Right.
to how we think we should look.
Yeah.
And then these men in these podcasts.
Girl,
Sorry, men.
listen.
Sorry, men.
When a man
But
is on a podcast, I'm side eyeing until I hear, 13 words out of his mouth because I can't. But go ahead.
right. But
Yeah.
so you start to think, well, wow, they said here I can't get a man unless I look like this, or I got to look like this celebrity or this person, or sometimes men are bold and they just are like, nah, you ain't got a small waist, So it
Right.
after a while, especially if you're out here dating, that
Mm-hmm.
can wear on you after a while, and it's like, well, do I have to look like that? And let me know in the chat if anybody's ever experienced that, or am I just making up stuff because I watched it on TV?
You're not making it up. I've heard it too, and I've heard the commentary and the ideas around bodies, what bodies should look like. But
Mhm.
I always tell people like body diversity is a real thing and it's beautiful. I don't care how many waist trainers you wear, how many days you work out, how little you eat, how much protein you consume. You cannot spot reduce fat, which means you
Yeah.
cannot decide where you lose fat. As you lose weight, your body might take it from your face first, from your feet second, from your
Mhm.
calves. Like you have no idea when it's going to get to your stomach or your thighs or anything. We have
Yeah.
zero control. That is a genetic metabolic process. We have zero control over. No spot reduction of fat. You
Mhm.
also cannot alter the shape of your body. Your body shape is based on your bone structure. Some of us were born with broader shoulders, more narrow waistline, and then broader hips, which is what creates the hourglass figure. Some of
Yeah.
us don't have that. Some of us it's opposite. We all have different like physical skeletal shapes that our bodies follow, and then where we accumulate fat is different for every single person. Can't change it, cannot alter it. The only thing you can do to alter your body shape is surgery. And not my choice, but again, body autonomy, do whatever you think is best for you.
Mhm.
But if you are seeking a certain body type to attract the male gaze, what male are you attracting? Or person, maybe it's not a male, maybe it's
Yeah.
female.
Yeah.
Who are you attracting? if it's a person whose value in you is based on you having a small waist and a big booty, or a small waist and wide hips, or a small waist, like whatever it is, or
Mhm.
a thigh gap, whatever stupid trending body thing there is. Our bodies aren't trends. They just
Mhm.
aren't. And we can't manipulate them like that. And I don't think that we should try to manipulate them, because they're beautiful as they are. But what type of person are you attracting to your life if it's solely based on what your body looks like? That's what I would say. And
Yeah.
for as many men there are who are particular about those things, I think there are just as many men who are not, and who care about you as a human, and
Mhm.
other forms of attraction and chemistry that have nothing to do with you know genetically what your body is. So
Right. Yeah, because especially as we're getting older, you pick
mhm.
up a little more weight here and there,
Yep.
and and then it's like I'm like perimenopause. Like, don't tell me get rid of that weight around your stomach. Like,
It is a thing. It is
it's a
really a
thing.
thing. And
Hormones.
yeah, and we just don't have the control. Even under the best medical care, with doctors who are checking your hormone levels and
Yeah.
giving you remedies that are natural, and or medication, even under the best circumstances, we still don't have full control. We still
Right.
cannot go chisel out the body that we want. It is physically impossible. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wish more people could make peace with that. But I know how hard it is, because we want to look a certain way. Either it's the way we used to look, or it's the way a celebrity looks, or it's the way someone in our family, or someone we look up to looks. Like, we want it so bad. But I would say that you do yourself a disservice if
Mhm.
your life revolves around how to make your body look different, as opposed to making your life revolve around making peace with where your body is, when you're doing what's within your ability to take good care of yourself. So I
Mhm.
posted a reel like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I think I'm just in my chubby girl era, y'all. Like, this is what my body has become based on these things: working out 3 to 4 days a week pretty consistently, drinking 64 ounces of water, getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep,
Yeah.
going to therapy once or twice a month, stretching and meditating like 5 days a week, hanging
Mhm.
out with my friends and my family, my kids, dating, having fun, recovering from a toxic marriage, navigating this world as a Black woman with Black children. Like, this is what has come of my body as a result of all those things.
Mhm.
And is it my thinnest self? Nope. It's actually probably my biggest self. Is it the flat stomach era? No, it is not. We have a mom pooch, a very well defined and obvious one. But I am in a great space mentally. I'm taking care
Mhm.
of all the parts of me. And this is what happened to my body as a result of that. And so my
Mhm.
goal is to just not be mad at that anymore, and be like,
Yeah.
oh, this is where it is. I don't have to go do anything extreme or outrageous to try to change that. So I feel like it's a lot healthier than what I used to do.
Yeah, I love that. And I see people in the comments saying amen. And you guys drop some questions in the chat if you have them. So I wanted to go back to what you were, as we are talking about body image. What advice do you have for people to make peace with? And I feel like we talked about this in September, but it's been some months. How can they
Yeah.
make peace with where their body is right now? Because I think I shared, after my hysterectomy, and I still
Hmm.
struggle, this isn't the body that I had before all the fibroids and things. So it's like, okay, but I have to make peace. Like, this is the body you got now with all the scars and everything
Exactly.
else. So
Exactly. Um, one of the biggest things I tell people to do, or I suggest to people, is to get comfortable seeing their bodies. I think that as women, when we're not happy in our bodies, we try to hide them from ourselves, from our partners, from the world. We get out of the pictures. We don't want to be photographed anymore. And so a lot of peace will come from just seeing it, and seeing it for what it is. And then there won't be this shock value every time you happen to walk past a mirror, or every time you're ready to be intimate with someone, or it's beach time and you want to put on a bathing suit. Get comfortable seeing the body. And I know it's hard at first. This is a skill people work on for years. It might be
mhm,
10 seconds in the mirror naked by yourself. It might be a minute later. It might be up to 5 minutes. But the goal is to normalize your body. And the other thing you can do simultaneously while you're normalizing your body is normalize other people's bodies. So go on your social media and find people whose bodies are similar to yours and different, bigger, ideally, and see them sort of walking in their body confidence. And that can inspire and motivate you. So the more comfortable you get seeing your body and normalizing it, the more you can normalize other bodies and recognize like your body is not wildly different from other
Yeah.
women like or other people, right? Our bodies are, we all have differences, but there's so much variation from person to person, and it's
Mhm.
beautiful. It's body diversity. So normalize your body, normalize other people's bodies that look similarly and different than yours. And then the biggest one I tell people is to find clothes that fit your body. And I don't say
Yeah.
that lightly, because some of us who exist in larger bodies, we don't have the luxury, or they don't have the luxury of being able to go to a store and just buy things off the rack, right?
Mhm.
Our world is pretty fat phobic and stops at, the average
Yeah.
size of woman is like a 14, 16, and clothing stores sometimes don't even go up to that size. So there's a
Right.
lot to be said about injustice and stigmas
Mhm.
and all of that. But do what's within your power to find clothes that fit your body and make you feel good, because squeezing into stuff that goes back to the talk about shapewear. Even squeezing
Mhm.
yourself into stuff that doesn't feel comfortable is one of the easiest ways to feel bad about your body. If you're still wearing the jeans that from 2 years ago that you can barely button, you are going to be angry. You're going to be annoyed, you're
Yeah.
going to be sad, because
Mhm.
you feel like something's wrong with you because you can't fit into your old clothes.
Mhm.
So, normalize your body, normalize other people's bodies, and find clothes that fit your current body. And that helps you sort of begin the process of making peace. And just like you said, you still
Yeah.
struggle. Like, stuff
Yeah.
still comes up. I teach this every day, all day. And I
Mhm.
still sometimes go to the mirror and I'm like, deep breath. I have to
Yeah.
remind myself that those feelings or those voices I'm hearing, those are not facts. They are
Mhm.
just feelings. And I
Yeah.
also have to remind myself I don't have to look in the mirror every day and be madly in love with what I see, but I can still respect her, and I can still be kind to her, and I can
Mhm.
still say nice things about her. Get rid of all that negative, like we say, very mean things about our bodies. Stop that.
Right.
End
Mhm.
that immediately. You'll never have a good relationship with your body doing that. So yeah, normalize your body, say nice things, and find clothes that fit.
What are some examples of some nice things that you could say to your body as you're looking in the mirror?
Yeah. So I like to do them where the ones that don't focus on bodies, because we're so much more than that. And then the
Yeah.
ones that do. So I like for people to start with, I am so much more than a body. I'm so much more than a body. This is my meat suit. It's just what helps me engage in the world that I live in. But I'm more than this. I like for people to say, my body is the least interesting thing about me. I have so many more cool things about me, who I am as a
Yeah.
human, as a person. I always tell people to think of things like, my body has carried me through so much. We don't have to worry about what it looks like, but just know that it carried you through a global pandemic. Perhaps you birthed children as a result of it. Like, this body has cared for you, so we need to care
Mhm.
for it. So saying things that endear you to your body instead of things that separate you from it. So I'm proud of my body. My body is good. My body loves me. I love my body. I am so much more than a body. My body tells a story that I'm very proud of, because it
Mhm.
does, all the scars and marks and the things that you've been through. But things like that, things that hone in on who you are as a person. And then you can also take it to body specific things, as far as like highlighting things that you do really appreciate about your body, and
Yeah.
hopefully that appreciation grows. So it might be like, I really love my legs. I think my legs are beautiful. And then you can
Mhm.
grow from there, and maybe areas that you didn't think were beautiful in the past, you can start to say that they are over time. But it's a slow grind with that, and it's a slow process. And I always tell people to start where it's easier. Don't start up here with the stuff you don't believe, because then it's going to be a very like
Mhm.
stressful and draining process. Start with
Yeah.
the basics. I am more than a body. That is true for every single person on this earth. You are
Mhm.
so much more than a body. So let's start there, and then kind of work our way up into the more loving and kind things. But start with neutrality, body neutrality, being neutral about my body, respecting my body, and then hopefully we'll get somewhere closer to loving it.
Oh, I love that. Shelly Morris, hi, Shelly. She says, sometimes I feel I'm in competition with my 20, 30-year-old body now that I'm 50 and menopausal. So maybe, Shelly, you should start with some of
Yeah.
these affirmations we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know
What?
what? I think we all experience that. And what I would say to you, Shelley, is if you have children, or if you've seen children grow up, you have nieces or nephews, when they're newborns, they look a certain way, their body is a certain size, right? Then when they get to be about 1, their bodies are growing, 2, 3, 4. As our children or our nieces and nephews grow, their bodies change. We don't shame them for it. We expect it. You know, it's like, oh, it's a new school year, time to go get new clothes because you've outgrown things. And I really like for adults to reframe their bodies in the same way. Like, oh, I can't fit those pants from last season. I've outgrown them. As
Mhm.
opposed to, oh my God, I need to lose weight. Oh my God, I've gotten so fat. Oh my God, I need to work out. I've outgrown them. Your body, everybody needs to know this. Your body is supposed to change throughout your life. There are very few people, I don't know anyone who stays the exact same size their entire lives without engaging in some very disordered practices. And even people who stay close to their same size, there's still variation. So your body is supposed to change 100% as you matriculate through your childhood, through your adolescence, through puberty, and then as you become a woman or a man, as a woman, if you have children, and then hormonal changes, perimenopause, menopause, your body is supposed to change. And if we could just start embracing and expecting that change instead of trying to freeze time at 25 or 35 or whatever we had the ideal body. And also, I just like to say this, if you can teleport yourself back to that age and be
Mhm.
honest with yourself and ask yourself, did I like my body then when I was living in it? Most of us will say no. Most of us will be like, damn, I didn't. I actually was trying to lose weight then. So
Yeah.
think about it from that perspective, that maybe the body you're in now in 10 years, you would want it. So
Mhm.
appreciate and value it for where it is now, and let go of this idea of competing with former versions of yourself. You can love all the former versions of yourself, but you're never going to be that woman again. Time has passed. Things have happened. Your body has lived, and it's okay. So expect and embrace that change as much as you can. And the affirmations are a great place to start.
So going back to the waist trainers for just a second,
Mhm.
well, not necessarily that, but if someone's like, I still want my core to be toned, what advice do
Mhm.
you have? Because say we're just going to throw out the waist trainer, do you have
Yes.
any exercises that they could work on instead?
Yeah. So I will say this, when people say toned, typically what they're referring to is having more muscle definition and less fat. Again, I cannot help you spot reduce fat because it's impossible. So I don't
Yeah.
know, but I can help you make your core strong. I can make your core rock strong. I don't know what it's going to look like when it's rock
Yeah.
strong, but I know that it's going to sustain you and hold you and carry you and keep your back and your spine safe. So we can do that.
Okay.
So I like to start with like the basics of core building. So engaging what we call the transverse abdominal muscle. And it's a very small contraction. I have people practice this all the time. You can do it right now while you're sitting.
Okay.
Kind of take a deep breath and relax everything. And I want you to gently pull up on the muscles that are below your belly button. um, think it's like a gentle lift up and in, but it's not holding your breath or
Mhm.
getting up to the diaphragm. It's a gentle lift up and in. And this is how I describe it to people. Pretend you are trying to zip up some pants that are a little snug, and you're just trying to move that little sensitive skin below your belly button out of the way of the zipper. That is it. Do that and see if you can hold it while maintaining a good breath. Okay, if you
Okay.
can, relax it. Do it again. That is sort of the foundational beginning of engaging the core without holding the breath or sucking the belly in. Take that move a step further by trying to hold it and seeing if you can move your arms and keeping that position. And then you can do it lying down on the floor on your back and see if you can do it tapping each foot on the floor. When we start to brace our abdominals gently in that way, that builds the core strength. And then we can work up to the dead bug exercise. We can work up to straight arm planks, forearm planks, side planks, plank with a knee to elbow. I mean, we can go anywhere. And the cool thing about the core, once you learn how to brace your abdominals, every move that you do can be a core exercise. Arms, legs, sweeping your kitchen floor,
Mhm.
everything can embrace and engage your core muscles because it's the stability for your spine. So if you start to create a practice around that, you'll have a very strong core. Now, whether or not you got fat around that, I don't know. That's
Mhm.
genetics, hormones, your life, your body, but you'll be strong for sure.
Okay, I'm glad to know that planks are in there.
Hmm.
Yoga. I'm a yogi. And the planks.
Yes.
Just I was doing planks earlier.
Planks are so good for your total body. What I would
Yeah,
say to avoid are like crunches and sit ups. They kind of just hurt your neck and back. And,
yeah.
that just works one set of muscles in your abdominals. And most of the time, when we get those stronger, the rectus abdominals, they kind of stick out more. So people aren't usually pleased with what that looks
Mhm.
like anyway. but stuff that is about bracing and then using your body, going through rotational moves and stuff, that's going to really strengthen the core. And planks are a great foundational move for that because you can do so much with planks, right? You can hold it
Yeah.
there statically. You can lift the arms or legs. You can do so much. So there's
Oh
tons
yeah.
of work there.
Yeah, I'm still just a regular old plank.
That's
I
fine.
haven't graduated to all the extra yet.
No
I'm
worries.
just
You don't
proud
have
of my
to.
wrists. I'm proud of my wrists for being able to hold me up. There's an affirmation right there.
100%. And I teach people how to like loosen them up. Sometimes I tell people to wear those little weightlifting gloves with the padding because sometimes people's
Oh,
wrists do hurt, or to just go and do forearm planks if that feels more
yeah.
comfortable. So
Hmm.
whatever it is. But yeah, planks are great.
Yeah. So, what's one thing that you hope everybody takes away from this conversation, especially about waist trainers and body image?
I hope that people take away the idea that waist trainers are trash. And I will say it to any distributor in the world. They are trash. They are not going to make you stronger or make your waist smaller, honestly. And you don't have to have a small waist to be healthy or to have a great body. So that's what I hope you get from this is, your waist is what your waist is. You can still be strong. You can still work out. You can still take good care of yourself, but you don't have to have an hourglass shape to be beautiful or to be healthy or to be fit.
Yeah. Do y'all hear that? Y'all hear that in the chat? I'm talking to them like they're gonna like be like, "Yes, ma'am, we hear
Yes,
you."
we hear you.
So
Yeah.
this has been a great conversation. I know you were here in September. So
Mhm.
I'm going to ask the question just to see what has changed.
Yeah.
What feeds your soul? Or what feeds your soul now?
Yeah. Tons of things, right? But right now, what is really feeding me is the peace I experience. I have separated from a relationship. I have moved into a new home with my children, and I come home every day to peace. And you don't know how much you're missing peace until you get it back.
Yeah.
And you just realize that. So for me, it's like every time I literally walk in and I say, hello, house. Like, I'm just happy to be here. There's a spirit of peace and contentment and joy that is just over me. And that is feeding me every moment of every day. And that peace is, beyond like my home, but it's the peace I'm making with my body, the peace I'm making with where I am in my career, my life, as opposed to that constant stress of like, I got to do better. I got to be better. What's next? It's like,
Right.
taking a deep breath and having peace. It is truly feeding me and sustaining me right now.
That is absolutely a way different answer than before, but I like this one. I like this answer.
Yeah. Things have
Peace is
changed.
always good. Peace is always good.
Ooh, yes, definitely.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Lisa Fulton, for coming back. Of course, I'm going to be in your DMs again, asking, can you come back again?
Anytime, anytime. Love talking to you. So we can do this whenever.
Okay, great. And thank you all in the chat, the co-hosts. Y'all had some great comments. I didn't get to all of them, but thank you guys for your insights. And for more information about body image, head over to blackdoctor.org for articles and resources. And I forgot to ask you, Dr. Lisa, if you want to tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, I kind of live on Instagram. So you can follow me at Healthy Fit, and that's spelled HELTHYPHIT. And my website is healthyfit.com, spelled the same way. I am accepting new clients for virtual body coaching. So if that's something you're interested in, I also have a journal, the Body Respect Journal, that's available on Amazon. You can just literally search the Body Respect Journal. But yeah, I would love to connect with people. I'm very responsive to DMs. So, come and chat with me.
Yeah. So, guys, next week, we're going to be on Friday night instead of Wednesday. I know I'm throwing a kink and things, but we're going to be Friday night. But I don't know about y'all. The older I get, the harder it is to go to sleep. I don't know if it's hormone stress. I don't know. But 1 a.m., I'm up watching Murder, She Wrote. Yes, I'm an old lady. But,
I love it.
but it's it's also the anxiety of everything that's going on in the world today. So stress sometimes, obviously stress, anxiety, it prohibits sleep sometimes. So I have a sleep
Mm-hmm.
expert joining us next Friday. She's going to give us some tips on how to get a restful night's sleep. And I cannot wait. And I hope I can go to sleep after that interview. So again, I will see you guys next Friday at 7 o'clock instead of Wednesday. Thank you again, Dr. Lisa Folden. And thank you again to the co host. Have a great night and have a soul filled rest of the week, y'all. Bye.
Bye.